There's some new reports and rumors about the future Star Wars movies. You might like this, you might hate it. Let's break it down. What's up, Star Wars fans? It's Josh. Welcome back to the channel. Smash that like button and let's get into this report here. I certainly would like to know what you guys think about this. In fact, the whole reason I'm even doing this video is just to kind of present this idea to you guys. It's a super light news day. There's not a lot of Star Wars news other than the Darth Vader being an Obi-Wan thing, which we've talked about at great length. So I really wanted to do this video just to talk about this new report that's out there to kind of get a feel of how you guys feel about this. Okay, so this is out there. A lot of different people talking about it, but essentially the rumor is that the future Star Wars movies, including the 2022 movie, the movie that they're going to do with Taika Waitti, and whatever they do moving forward, are going to be much smaller, more intimate projects. Now, the biggest report that sort of is spinning out all of these different rumors and discussions about this is suggesting that big facilities like Pinewood and just big productions in general are very difficult to nail down now because of all of the social distancing, because of all of the health concerns around the globe, and therefore Disney has sort of decided to go more the Mandalorian route, use the techniques done on that show, using productions much like The Volume to essentially make the shooting of these things a lot more safe and a lot more smaller. The flip side of this is to suggest that the easier things to do with that type of technology and that type of production are more intimate, smaller stories, right? It's kind of hard to imagine them doing a large, super big scale Star Wars movie on something like The Volume, right? And so I guess at a baseline, I just really want to know, what do you guys think about this? And what I'm really asking is, would you be okay with smaller scale movies coming out for the future of Star Wars? Because that's really the discussion that needs to be had. Do fans want that? Because I saw a lot of different people talking about this online. There were some Star Wars fans that said, hey, well, the sequel trilogy was mostly spectacle. It didn't have substance. And so that makes me want smaller, more intimate stuff, because the more bombastic they go, the bigger they go in scale. For the sake of going big, it doesn't seem to work. That wasn't really what worked for me with the sequel trilogy. So I don't want that. I'm okay with following a single character or a couple of characters around in a more intimate story. On the flip side of that, people were saying, no way, dude, it's Star Wars in the movie theater. We absolutely need these to be big scale stories, to be going around to different planets, set pieces, action set pieces, all sorts of different stuff. They need to still be really big in scale, and especially when you consider the fact that stuff like The Mandalorian is going to exist on Disney Plus. Well, what's the big difference there? Why would you go to a theater to see something like The Mandalorian? If you go to the theater, you want something big and bombastic. So that's sort of the discussion. I really want to know where you're at with it. Now, for my own part here, I don't really particularly buy into this too much at all. Like, obviously, what's going on in the world is going to cause changes to production. It's going to make production more difficult. You will probably see productions take a bit longer. You know, maybe they will do things like The Volume. Like, it was just announced that Matt Reeves' The Batman is going to resume filming next year, and it's all going to be on a studio lot. They're not shooting on location at all anymore. So, hey, you know, they're sort of doing what is implied to be going on with the future Star Wars movie. But here's the biggest reason why I don't buy into this, because, you know, I sort of suggested earlier in this video, how could you do a large-scale Star Wars story with something like The Volume? Well, technically, George Lucas kind of already did this with the prequels. If you look at the prequels, yeah, it's big in scale, and The Phantom Menace had the most sort of model work and actual sets and things like that. As you move forward, it's more digital, to the point where in Revenge of the Sith, it's like mostly digital. But essentially, that was what George was trying to do back then, was essentially create super big scale, very soap opera, episodic, grand, epic stories that were done with a much smaller production. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, just because the productions are going to be smaller, they might use a volume-like setting. They'll probably just build like a way bigger volume. Just because all of that stuff is true does not necessarily mean that the stories themselves have to shrink down. You might have to be smarter about the way you do production, but you can do stuff that's epic on something like The Volume. You can shoot with smaller groups with, you know, smart technology, you know, do the social distancing thing. You can do that, and you could still tell a story that is very grand in scale with digital effects. Now, the other big side of this, which is a little bit more confusing, is the whole idea of money. Okay, so this is a really interesting thing, because there are some long-term projections that suggest that just in general, theater attendance might be way down moving forward. You might never see the big billion-dollar movies that we once saw. We saw a ton of them in 2019 and 2018. That stuff might be gone for a long time, maybe forever. And as things shift towards streaming and shift towards digital and home release, it might be a thing where you see a reverse. Right now, we're seeing stuff like Mandalorian being done for Disney Plus. Well, what if the majority of money, revenue, and attention is actually given to Disney Plus, and then you do the more intimate, smaller stuff on the big screens, and that becomes sort of a niche experience that people want to go to the theaters? I think that's possible, but I still think we're far away from that. A lot of these studios are holding back because they are holding on to this idea that they can make more money in theaters. And if things get back towards any semblance of normalcy, I think that is true. You can make way more money in the movie theater than you can on VOD. I don't think that will always be the case, but it will likely still remain the case for the next couple of years. But I can totally see how if you're a studio, particularly something like Star Wars, in Lucasfilm, you might be considering that. You might be being like, whoa, we're about to spend money to make this film, and the market is so different, and the return we think we will get is so in question that maybe we don't want to do and commit a huge budget to something really big and grand in scale. Now, that's sort of what people are saying. Now, let me give you my take. My take on that is there's a lot of bloated spending in Hollywood, and I think using something like the volume actually can cut cost. But again, it is more like being a little bit more fiscally responsible, maybe not going after big celebrities. Maybe things will economically sort of sort themselves out in that sense, but I do not think that means that you don't have to spend money on a big movie to get people into the theaters. I still think spectacle sells. I still think you want to go big and bombastic with these movies. And I still think that's the formula for Star Wars. I think they should do big, epic Star Wars movies, and those should be the ones that are in theaters. But that's sort of the report, guys. That's the different conversations that are being had about it. I'm very curious as to what your thoughts are about this. Do you think they should go small scale? Are you okay with that? Or you think, no, they should find a way to go big scale with the future Star Wars movies? Whatever you're thinking, let us know in the comment section below. And now let's shout out Jonathan Tidball. Yes, indeed, Spider-Man got the black suit during the original Secret War. And now let's ask another nerd card question before we get out of here. I want to know, what was the name of the Star Wars character that Paul Bettany played in Solo: A Star Wars Story? Thank you for watching this content. And if you like this video, make sure you like it, and go check out our live streaming channel where we do live streams all throughout the week. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and a nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video.